Welcome to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Join me on today's video where we'll be looking at another Spect & Sohne model. This is the B&R Homage. The model number is SP0004 or something like that. Specs wise, it is a Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz powered watch with sapphire crystal, 50 meters of water resistance, but the website does state 30, but we got 50 on the dial. You do have a total of 3 different dial options. You've got a white dial option, a blue dial option, and a black that you see in front of you. And you've also got the choice of getting this watch on the bracelet or on the rubber strap. Now, I debated which one to go for. I was originally going to go for the rubber strap because it would be something different, but with the bracelet option, it's always good to kind of get the bracelet in to see what the overall quality is like. But now, having received the watch in hand, spending a bit of time with it, I should have gone with the first guess. I would recommend getting this watch on the rubber strap because you will be quite disappointed with the bracelet. Moving on to dimensions, you do have a square case, as you can see. Your diameter is between 42 to 43 millimeters. You've got a thickness of 11 millimeters and a lug to lug of 47, but due to those male end links, you've got an overall lug to lug of around 50 millimeters. And you've got a total weight of 160 grams, which is a pretty decent weight. And this watch does have a fair bit of heft. It is slightly chunky, but I gotta say it does fit really well on wrist. So now I have reviewed a couple of Spect & Sohne models. I can kind of begin to summarize and understand what they offer. Now, one thing Spect & Sohne shouldn't do is go for these type of styles and designs. And what I mean by that, if we look at the PRX style homage and we look at, this kind of bracelet, this kind of case, there's loads of facets on there, loads of brushing, loads of different transitions and polished sides and, beautiful brush sides. And I think they are setting themselves up to fail because they're only charging £65 for this model. All the other models are around £70, £60, this very low budget end. What that means is impossible, right, for you to finish a product to that level, for that small amount of money. So if they, for example, did simpler models, right, where it didn't require so much, facets and so much casework, so much finishing work, then I think they will be a lot better. What I'm seeing is, just that slight bit of disappointment. I'm seeing scruffiness when I look at the watch case. So for me, I don't understand why you would go out your way to do something, which, is kind of complex, does require a great deal of finishing and refinement. Just make it cheap. So, it doesn't even look that nice close up. And like, the PRX version or the PRX GMT, the watch is better off just at arm's length. But it's not all bad. They do have some good things going on, which I'll talk to you guys about later. But let's focus on some of the issues that I've been seeing. So we start off on the A-face of the case, right? You've got your polished screws, which there's no issues with them. You've got a nice A-face there with coarse brushing. But where the case kind of transitions into that polished side, you can just see the edges are quite scruffy. Now this is going to be magnified under this light and obviously on camera. And as I said, if you wore this on wrist, at arm's length distance, you really wouldn't see that. But close up, you definitely see just rough finishing. The brushing on the case for the most part is actually okay. But they do have a very scruffy look. The bracelet itself is riddled with scratches, and I've only unboxed it and then checked it out for a few hours, so I haven't really wore this around the house or I've gone to do anything with it. But just these polished center links are just full of scuffs and scratches. And the brushing on that bracelet, you can see it's slightly inconsistent. It doesn't have a machined brushed surface where the grain is perfectly straight, but you can see here it's like hand brushed. So the grain is going in different directions, which, at a macro level does really spoil it. You also got this very cheap butterfly clasp. And the problem here with the bracelet is because they use split pins, just look at that amount of flexibility there. And yes, I know it's a cheap watch, right? Some of you people listening might be thinking, what are you talking about? Surely you expect this. Yes, but with AliExpress being extremely diverse, there's a lot of brands which do have low price points, but they do kind of execute watches slightly better. So it goes back to how I started off the video. I think my advice to Spect & Sohne would be to simplify the designs and give us something that within that price category, they can actually finish it nicely and execute it really well. Because this is just, it comes across as very scruffy and very cheap. Now, a cheap watch doesn't have to look cheap, right? So I would advise for everyone to opt for the rubber strap, because then that is where the majority of the issues lie. I think with the rubber strap, a lot of the stuff will be hidden, and then, you're only exposed to the watch case, which, as I said, predominantly is quite nice. Now, moving on to some of the build quality, the pushers, Very sharply finished. Just have a look how crisp that edge is, and you can just literally feel how sharp that is. But it does have a really pleasing kind of press down, so very subtle, and I do like the design of these pushers. And this being a VK63, you get that mechanical snapback, but their pushers are very sharp. And your crown, and you have this issue with, you know, so many of the watches, because of these crown guards here, it is very difficult to kind of get it to date position, because it does have a stealth date on the dial. So you have to kind of carefully get that crown up and then at number 2 position to set the time. Now, being a Mecha Quartz, you probably only have to do this now and then, because they are very accurate. So that is the only thing really saving it, but there's no real notch or anything under the crown to kind of assist you get your finger or your fingernail underneath that. The dial itself is pretty well made. You've got quite a subtle sunray black dial. It's a nice deep black. It gives you great contrast against the white printed features. So your printed text, your printed minute track, everything is lined up. You've got 3D polished hour markers. You've got a similar handset that we saw on the PRX, so it's a nice baton style handset, you know, with the curved edges. And again, on close-ups, you do see some scruffiness on the handset. Of course, they must have poor handling when they do, you know, start building these watches. You've got your 2 sub-dials on either side. You've got rounded off squares following the K-shape, which does look pleasant. Overall, it's a pretty symmetrical case. As I said, that date window is quite discreet down at the 5 p.m. position. And you've got also applied polished Arabics at the 12 and 6, which do, you know, kind of disappear into the background, but it's okay because you can see everything else. And legibility wise, as I said, that's the main thing. I think for the most part, you can see the watch pretty well. And, you know, the dial quality is present. So they do a lot of things which are right. Lume is also quite good. We saw it on the PRX homages that they do have really good lume on the dials and hands. So I'm really pleased with that. I mean, this is not a lume monster in any way, shape or form. And nor is it meant to be. For a sporty chronograph watch, it is more than adequate. You can see everything. Now, sizing wise, I removed 5 links from this watch. In terms of half links, you know, I don't think you need them because the links themselves are pretty small. And for my 6.5-inch wrist, removing 5 links was plenty, and it gave me just the right fit. And as I said at the start of the video, the watch does actually wear really well. So a lot of that scruffiness or the edginess doesn't go across to the wrist. With this bracelet on, I haven't really felt any rough edges at all. I've felt no discomfort. And, you know, for that 42 to 43mm case, because it is a square case, it does have a really nice fit. The second link you'll find is touching the side of the wrist, so that's why I kind of measure how comfortable the watch is. And for me, that is very nice. And again, you know, at arm's length, this is the thing with this watch. Everything looks proper, everything looks really well made. But it is only when you kind of go in a bit, the watch looks kind of used, if that makes sense, you know, with all the little scuff marks and the scruffy finishing here and there. There isn't really any precision on there, but bring it back to the price for £65, and just bring it back to what I'm saying is, why make something so complex which you know, you're going to end up cocking it up and you really haven't got the capacity to make it as good or do the design justice. But that's my opinion anyway. I don't think there is anything else in the market exactly like this, which is a lot better. So that's it from me today, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you on the next video.